You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello everyone, it's Nathan here. I just wanted to start this one out by explaining that I know that I mentioned that our next episode would have something to do with Tim Allen. Unfortunately, that episode, which is a Galaxy Quest episode, had to be preempted because of the short notice that Apple TV gave me that Silo Season 3 is coming soon, so I needed to get out my Silo Seasons 1 and 2 episode as soon as possible. So I now present you that episode. The Galaxy Quest episode will be forthcoming in a couple of weeks, but until then, enjoy. Let's meet our cast for this week. So, starting off, she is someone that normally only talks to us about Star Trek, but she's here to talk about something else this time, and that is Stephanie. How are you doing, Stephanie?
Hey, this isn't a Star Trek episode?
Yeah. Star Trek Silo. I mean, we don't not know it doesn't take place in the Star Trek universe.
Hey, yeah, it could be. Maybe.
You know, maybe the eugenics wars are happening, and that's why people are living in a silo. I mean, we don't know.
I mean, we'll find out.
Yeah,
I could find out by maybe going beyond book one, but...
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was a book series until I started watching the show, and it was like based on the book series, and I was like, oh, okay, like it's the book series, so I know nothing about the books, and so I'm coming in clean. But yeah,
I'm staying pretty even with the show. I've only read the first book, so...
So yeah, what's new and exciting, Stephanie?
Not too much. It's not 2025 anymore. Yay!
That's true. Well, I mean, but that could be better or worse.
I know. I keep thinking like...
I'm gonna be the ray of sunshine. We don't know yet. We don't have enough data.
Like, I keep thinking, I hope that your 2026 is better than 2020. Like, that's gotta be the absolute low bar, right?
One could hope.
Yeah. But, anyways, I don't know. I feel like we actually just talked, so, like, when this gets published, it may have been a bigger gap between, but I feel like not much has changed. I'm still coughing from COVID almost a month and a half ago, so yay.
And then she performed on cue, yeah.
Yeah. That was not intentional.
But yeah, I totally hear you, because when I had COVID, it was like a lingering cough for a long time, so I totally get you.
Oh, here's something new. As of today, I have upgraded all of my litter boxes to stainless steel.
Ooh.
Okay.
The smell is like non-existent with stainless steel over plastic ones.
I did not know that.
They're more expensive, so I've been slowly replacing them. But as of today, I have no more plastic litter boxes set up, and yeah, the odor that gets trapped in the plastic is most of the litter smell.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I'm as a cat owner, I'm like making a note here for myself to follow up on that later. So
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Highly recommend. I've had 2 of my 3 as stainless for a couple of months now, because I got a 2-pack and I had cabinets for those ones. But then my last one was just a plastic covered one, and the covered stainless ones, I still have a plastic cover, but the bin itself is stainless. And that one alone with a cover on it was like $70.
Oof.
So I mean, granted, I also have a giant Maine Coon, so I needed to get a big one.
Fair.
But yeah, the odor of cats is much lower now that all the plastic ones are gone. So
That's awesome.
any cat owners out there, I highly recommend making that switch.
I've
All
never
right.
even thought about that. We have a litter robot here that works really well for keeping smell down. And I mean, that thing was like $500, but it's still going.
Right. It's
Yeah, if you
worth
don't want to
it.
upgrade to robotic, but you want something that isn't going to stink as much, and oh my gosh, nothing sticks to them too either. I can use a chintzy plastic scooper and get, a big old clump out with no effort. So
That's so cool.
a little bit on the pricier side compared to a generic plastic one, but smells lower. The cleanup is easier. Yeah, this episode of the 42 Cast brought to you by Stainless Steel Litter
Yeah,
Well,
Box.
yeah, I was about to say, now this has been cat talk.
Yeah.
And of course, I have 3 guests with cats, so
Yep.
it all
So
became...
we could go off on this rabbit trail forever.
But
Hey,
it is
you
good.
asked what's new, and that
I
happened
did
today.
ask what's new, so it is on me. Yes, you're right. I'm just like, this is riveting, so riveting. But hopefully people listening at home have cats, and maybe this will give them some ideas. It is, but it's good to have you back on the show, Stephanie.
Nice to be back.
All right, and next up, she is my partner in crime when I talk about Doctor Who, and that is my friend Juliette. How are you doing, Juliette?
I'm okay. Glad to be back, on the show. First time since the holidays, even though it's like the second. Why not? I'm going to say it. First time back on the show for the new year.
That's right. So yeah, what's new and exciting for you, Juliette?
I can't remember when the last time we talked was. So who knows?
It's been a while.
Yeah, made it through the holidays, got a lot of changes going on at work. I discovered a new book series and blew through it, all the existing books in 2 weeks, which is the shirt that I'm currently wearing, Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Nothing else new or crazy has happened. Still running, still have cats, still have a dog. That's it.
All right, well, it's good to have you back on the show as well, Juliette.
Glad to be here.
And finally, the other voice that you heard. She is our alum of the Earth Station 1 mothership, and she comes on to, talk to us about all kinds of things, and that is Ashley. How are you doing, Ashley?
Good. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, so, I mean, it has been fairly recent since you were on the show, but anything new and exciting in the last few weeks?
Yeah, just kind of looking forward to kicking off the new year here and getting kind of like projects and planning going. And my regional con is coming up in a couple months. I'm speaking of Dungeon Crawler Carl, I'm working on a themed outfit cosplay for that to wear to the con. So I'm going to get that finished up hopefully here. I've got a couple more months left. So yeah, just kind of looking forward to some of the new movies and shows and conventions and stuff coming up later this year. So kind of ready to kick things off with a fresh start.
Oh, very cool. It's good to have you back on the show, Ashley.
Oh, thanks.
And you know what time it is. It's time for our 5-minute controversy. And for those just joining us, our 5-minute controversy is a way for us to unwind before we talk about our main topic and to give you a little insight into something that's going on in the geekosphere. So what I wanted to talk about this week was an article that came out a few weeks ago, but it kind of struck my eye when it came out, where one of the writers for Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, Henry Gilroy, was talking about that it was a mistake to make Sabine a Jedi in Ahsoka. And so he had mentioned that basically, since Sabine was already, this awesome warrior, it was kind of unnecessary. He refers to it as overkill, and that it kind of, wasn't something that he feels like really helps the character very much. So I'm just kind of curious how everybody feels about that, because that is definitely something that I have heard from other segments of the fandom after Ahsoka came out. So let's start with you on this one, Ashley. What do you think about that?
Yes, so I'm trying not to let my impressions of the show overall cloud my thoughts. I'm going to spare you all the canon barrage. I was not a huge fan of Ahsoka. The show didn't really work for me. I felt like they leaned too hard into Rebels, and it's basically just kind of like live action Rebels instead of diving into Ahsoka. So, apologize if anyone are huge Rebels fans. Like, I have nothing against the show, just it's not quite my Star Wars thing. So I felt like overall the Ahsoka show just wasn't quite what I wanted from it, and I feel like I'm not necessarily opposed to Sabine having the Force, but I don't know that it was done super well in the show, and I don't know that she needs it, because I think she's kind of an interesting character on her own, and it does kind of cloud the storyline, kind of complicate the plot a little bit. So overall, I would say I was not a huge fan of how it was handled in the show.
Okay. All right, Stephanie?
So I find this funny just because the last episode that I was on with you, you were like, hey, I found a 5-minute controversy that you all actually will care about, because you always say you don't care. And guess what?
Yeah. I wondered if you had seen Rebels, but you always say Star Wars is like your big fandom aside from like Babylon 5, so I thought maybe this would be one that like...
Not really. I mean, I enjoy Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I never watched Rebels, so I only know the character from Ahsoka. So,
okay.
Yep.
All right. So no thoughts at all on this, even theoretically.
No, because I only know the character as being Force sensitive. So.
Okay. Fair enough. Juliette?
So I actually really liked Rebels, and I liked Ahsoka. I didn't have an issue with it. I actually thought it was interesting for us to get to watch somebody who is, has Force sensitivity and Force abilities, but really sucks at using them. And because normally in Star Wars, everybody who has it, they just know how to use it, or when they train, it's like, bam, they get it. But I liked watching Sabine because she struggles with it, and part of it I think is because of her warrior mentality and her upbringing, and it's kind of at odds with a lot of the Jedi teachings. So I kind of thought it was cool and interesting and neat to see that perspective, kind of like when we saw in the Acolyte, the Jedi aren't good people necessarily all the time. In this case, we got to see a Force user who sucks at being a Force user, and it's hard for them. It's not easy, and they just don't know it. I thought that was an interesting perspective. It didn't bother me. I don't feel like it took away from Sabine's character. I felt she has enough issues with lying to Ezra and stuff like that weren't related to the Force at all. So I just thought it was another interesting aspect and a different view that we get to see in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like in a weird middle space on this. I definitely think it was unnecessary, because I agree with him. I just, Sabine is a badass warrior on her own. If anything, the thing I want Sabine to have to progress her, like as an ability more than anything, or like an add-on, would be just give her a jetpack like all the time. Like, she got it, like 1 or 2 episodes of Rebels, she has a jetpack, but usually she doesn't. Like, you're a freaking Mandalorian, jetpack is a requirement, okay? Use the stinking jetpack.
Yeah, I can support the jetpack.
It always frustrated me that she doesn't have the jetpack. But yeah, so I would rather have that than give her Force abilities. But I actually kind of liked to what Juliette was saying. I like the fact that like Sabine is Force sensitive, but she's got like almost zero talent with it. Like, and so I'm like, that's actually like, I kind of like that as, like a thing, because we never see that. We never see the people who are like, I can barely do anything with the Force. We always see like, oh, you're the greatest Force user ever of all time. And oh, there's Rey, you're even more greater than the last, than Anakin was. Oh my God, you're so powerful, and I'm just like, can we just see like people that aren't that way? So it's good to have that. So I kind of liked how they did. Like, if they were going to do it, I feel like Ahsoka handled it the best way that they could, which did, I think, lend credence to the idea of, because they did actually have episodes in Rebels where they questioned whether Sabine was Force sensitive, and they kind of came away thinking probably not. And so I feel like this at least didn't like completely ignore that it was like, she is, but she's so so narrowly force sensitive that it's like, you know, because even the Ahsoka's like droid was just kind of like, yeah, like you're like the worst, like the least talented Jedi I've ever seen, or Jedi student I've ever seen, like in my lifetime. So I thought that it worked okay. So I don't have the baggage that what was the name, Henry Gilroy had with this. Yeah, Henry Gilroy he had with this, and so I felt like it was okay. But you know, like I say, I do agree with him that it wasn't necessary, that I feel like they could have done a perfectly fine Sabine story without adding that on top of it. But I think since they wanted to hitch Sabine to Ahsoka, this kind of did make sense as a relationship for the two of them to have, and it's fine. And I'll just fan myself thinking about that actress they cast as Sabine, because, oh my god, hot. Anyway. All right.
For once, I'm not the thirsty one.
That's
Yeah.
But, yeah, so anyway, this has been another 5-minute controversy where we all had different points of view, or abstained in the case of Stephanie. From having
I mean, when you
See, that's the
bring
thing. Even when I don't know something, Stephanie, I can form an opinion on it like that. So, I mean, you should just come in there with an opinion, whether or not it's informed. So, you know.
I mean, once you two started talking about the fact that she was terrible at her use, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, that was pretty funny. I came into this whole controversy with the whole idea of going off of that article, not the character, but the fact of her not having them in the show and then having them in Ahsoka. And so from that point of view, I was like, I don't care, but if we go into the character herself, yeah, that was fun. I like having somebody who uses the Force probably as well as I would.
All right. Well, yeah. So we are going to talk about Silo, but first we're going to pause for a promo from another fine podcast.
All right, monkeying around, start talking.
Mr. Babalina, Mr. Bob Dabalina, Mr. Babalina.
About your podcast.
We talk about an Emmy-winning comedy series.
We talk about a band who outsold the Beatles and the Stones in 1967.
Still sticking to that story, huh? Well, if you know what's good for you, you'll change your tune.
We talk about a groundbreaking multimedia project
That inspired generations of artists and fans.
All right, throw the book at them.
This book is overdue.
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
And we're back. And like we mentioned at the top of the show, we are talking about Silo. And so just to get a little bit of background for why I want to talk about Silo, so I got like a free, I can't remember if it was 1 month or 2 months or whatever. I had like a free Apple Plus like promo thing that I used. And I wanted to watch Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and then I was kind of like sending out like, okay, what else is on Apple Plus that people like? And just about everybody responded with either For All Mankind, Foundation, or oh crap, what's that one where it's like they're at work and they don't remember any Severance.
Yeah, Severance.
That's what like everybody came back was one of those three, and like maybe like one person said Silo. And so, you know, I looked into all of those, and so I did For All Mankind, loved it. Did Foundation, hated it. And then I'm not doing Severance right now. They're I know everybody loves it. The idea raises my hackles for certain reasons that I'm not sure I want to. But then I decided to do Silo because it's like, okay, like one or two people said Silo, so I'm going to give this a try. Loved Silo also, and was surprised that I don't see the outpouring of love that I've seen for other shows on Apple Plus, because I was actually really, really impressed with how good this show is. So I was like, all right, I want to talk about this. So I got to watch both seasons that are out now, back to back, so I didn't have to wait between season 1, season 2, just went from one to the other. And I was like, wow, this is like a really interesting ride. And, I've certainly seen post-apocalyptic, series before. Of course, Fallout came out recently, and this is about as far away from Fallout's post-apocalyptic vault vibe as you can be while still basically being the same concept. It was kind of funny to me because I'm like, these two shows had the same premise, but they are like on the exact opposite ends of the tonal spectrum from each other. And I like them both. But yeah, I just really thought this was a really neat concept. And just really quick before we start, so I know Ashley has read the books, and Stephanie, you said you read one book, right?
Mhm.
And Juliette, have you read the books?
Yep, read them all long before the show came out.
Okay, so yeah, I don't want any spoilers from the books. Because part of what's interesting to me is like not knowing what the scenario is outside of the silo, like, and having to like sort of like put together clues and sort of wondering like what's going on here. And so I really don't want to know, I don't want that given to me. I want to watch as we learn through the events. But yeah, Ashley, like, what was sort of your like entry to Silo, and what do you think about the series, just in general terms, as far as like how it stacks up against the books?
Yeah, so I've read just the first novel so far.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like you, Stephanie. I would kind of like to maybe keep pace with the show.
Yep.
But the original book is called Wool, which I thought was interesting that they changed the name for the show. I think that Wool is kind of a cool name for the book, like referring to the little cloth that they use to clean the screen. But Silo, I feel like, kind of makes more sense as a TV show to maybe catch people's attention who haven't watched
Is like
it.
an overarching name for the series, Silo?
Yes,
oh,
I
okay.
think so.
So it's
Yes,
Silo series of books.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the first book is called Wool. But yeah, I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was a really intriguing blend of both sci-fi and dystopian fiction. And I love anything that kind of has a little bit of a mystery to the premise. Like, you don't know why everybody is living in the silo. You know about their current reality, but you don't know why they're there. And I loved the kind of like the slow burn slowly as the mystery unravels, then life in the silo begins to unravel too. So I thought that was a super interesting concept. I would have watched the show anyway, but it definitely rocketed up my list because I'm a huge fan of Rebecca Ferguson. She plays the lead engineer, Juliette Nichols. She plays Lady Jessica, who's my favorite character from the Dune novels, and I thought she just did a phenomenal job with that performance. So when I saw that she was in another science fiction story, that was an automatic must watch for me. So I think she does a really great job with this character, and for me, it was just a really great watch. Like you said, Nathan, I'm kind of surprised I don't hear more people talking about it. I feel like it definitely deserves some more love, especially with all the great sci-fi that is on Apple TV. It's well worth a watch. So no spoilers. If you're all intrigued by the concept, it's a really great sci-fi story.
Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson, like, I don't know, like, she must have, like, no free time because she is in
I know,
everything right now.
gosh, yes.
Film and TV, like, just everywhere. Like, she's been in Mission Impossible movies. She was in Dune movies, like you've mentioned. She's doing this show. She's been doing several shows also, like, around the same time, too. So it's kind of like, man, I mean, hopefully she's making her money so she doesn't have to work, like, a few years down the line. It's like, I've got so much banked up now, I only have to work whatever I feel like it,
I know, like, I hopefully she's taking care of herself, but like, please continue to do stuff because I think she's a great performer. So I was really glad to see her cast in this.
So Juliette, so I didn't realize that Ashley had only read the first book. So again, like, same question to you, like, how do you feel like it stacks up, like, against the books, but also, like, how did you come to Silo and what do you think of it sort of overall, like, as a concept?
So I came to Silo through an exchange with a friend who was looking for recommendations about dystopian worlds set in the future with a the lost world in the future, basically, is kind of what he kind of wanted to go with. And I recommended the show C to him, and which was exactly what he was looking for. And he was like, well, let me recommend to you one of my favorite dystopian novel series. And he said, here, read this book called Wool. So I did. In like a day, and immediately got the other books and read through them too. It was amazing. And then I found out, whoa, there's a show coming out based on this not long after I read the books. That's awesome. Didn't matter who was going to be in it. I was going to be watching it because I had to see how it matched up with the books, because that's a thing, right? And without any spoilers, because now I realize I'm the only person in this podcast who knows what's going to happen. I do feel like the show does a really good job. You know, showrunners always have that issue of trying to pick and choose what from the books you can, because the idea of TV is show don't tell, right? And books you tell all day long. That's what you do. It's why Dune has always been so hard to adapt into any version, because most of Dune is an inner monologue, which is fine for me, but most people don't want to watch that. But I feel like they did a really good job with Silo. I have not had any issues with any changes that I've noticed from the book Wool into the first 2 seasons of Silo. I feel like it's everything's matched up so far in a way that makes sense for the show. There are a couple things that I thought I was expecting and then didn't happen, but then I realized maybe where they're going, and I'm okay. I'm trying not to give spoilers. Although anybody listening to this, I really hope that they've already watched seasons 1 and 2. I'm just not trying to give spoilers about the book in case anybody wants to go and read it, because it's really good and you should. And I recognize the writing style may be a little bit different for some people. It may not be their favorite type of writing style, but go for it. It's a quick read. Trust me. But I think they've done a good job with it. I have enjoyed pretty much everything about the show so far.
Good. Yeah. And so, yes, I mean, I just want to piggyback on what you were saying. We are going to talk about seasons 1 and 2. So if you do worry about spoilers of the TV show, then I recommend that you pause it and go watch the show and come back, because we are going to talk about the show, definitely. And so, Juliette, you just made a comment though about like the writing style may not be everybody's cup of tea. So what could you describe like what you were saying about the writing style? Like what might be off-putting to some people? I'm just curious in case I ever choose to read these.
If you're used to writing styles, gosh, I don't even know. It's not like a conversational book like Dungeon Crawler Carl, or like like Lies of Lochlamore or something, where it feels like you're in a conversation with somebody. It's I almost want to say in some cases it's a little bit more abrupt in some places, perhaps, maybe. But I just know that it's not a typical writing style that I usually search out and read. But it worked out well for me. I had no issues with it. I just recognized in my brain that it is different from what I normally read. I can't really describe it, but that's the best way I can put it. And it may be like it takes you a couple of chapters just to get used to it and you're fine. It's the same thing I have with anime when I watch an anime style that I'm not sure of. Like I wasn't sure about the art style on Soul Eater, but I watched a couple of episodes and now I'm totally fine with it. And I cosplay the stupid thing. Yeah, Stein is my boy. But anyway, not to digress. I just had to do that because Stephanie's cheering me on over here.
Hey, I cosplayed as Marie and my partner was Stein, so...
Sorry, that makes me happy. My scythe is over there in the laundry room right now because that's the only place it's large enough to store it. But yes, if you're used to reading even just like regular novels, I don't even know what I'm going to yank off my shelf, but I guarantee you it's what I would consider a normal writing style. It's the kind that you grow up reading. And then again, you start reading stuff that feels like the Bobaverse books feel like he's talking to you. I feel like that, Dungeon Crawler Carl, those feel like very conversational books. Where I'm just talking to a normal person that I would, you guys. But this book feels even different from that. So if you start to get into it and you're like, I don't know about this, keep going. Just trust me, at least give it at least a quarter of the way through the book before you decide if it's for you or not.
Okay. And Stephanie, so yeah, again, like how did you come to the TV show first and then decide to read the book? Did you read the book first? Like, okay.
I saw the TV show first. I want to say that I was one of those people who recommended Silo when you. It
may well be. I remember Kelly Harkins did, and you might have been because I thought it might have been 2 people, so you might have been the second one.
Because up until recently, Silo was one of the only Apple TV shows that Tim and I had actually watched. We just plowed through Severance, and oh my gosh, I can't wait for more of it. But yeah, Silo, I got the books because I started watching the show. Actually, the first book I have 2 copies of for the sheer fact that there is a writing program that's in beta that a friend of mine and I did so much troubleshooting for them just by using it and being they legit told us we were the top users of their comment feature. They sent us gift cards for a bookstore for doing all that. And I used the gift card to buy the first hardcover edition of Wool. So I've got that one twice because then my grandparents actually for my birthday got me the gift set of the whole trilogy. And I've been really waffling back and forth as to I have all 3 books. Do I move on to the next one or do I wait for the show? Because I did get into it because of the show, and I cannot for the life of me think of what this writing style is that Juliette is referring to, because I was fully involved in it. It didn't strike me as any unusual prose or anything like that, but the only thing that usually stands out to me is first person present point of view drives me bonkers. So it wasn't that.
Okay.
But
yeah, no, I'm wondering if Juliette's the outlier here because she was like, it doesn't feel like it's talking to you. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever read a book that felt like it was talking to me. So I don't know what that is. So that's not my normal. So this might be my normal, the Silo book.
I can't think of anything that was unusual about the prose personally. I just know that it went very, very good with what they did in the show. It wasn't one-to-one, of course, but like Juliette said, the changes that they did make made sense to me. I'm a little disappointed only for the fact that I've heard that they've renewed for seasons 3 and 4, and they're planning to wrap it in that, when seasons 1 and 2 did a pretty damn good job of encompassing just what happens in Wool. So I don't know if the next 2 books are a little bit more condensed. They look about the same lengthwise, but like I said, I keep waffling about whether or not
So basically it took 2 seasons to tell 1 book, and now they're going to try to do 2 more books in 2 seasons. So,
yes.
Yeah, so that is a little worrying, yeah.
I'm a little worried about that because they did so good with Wool. But like I said, I've been fighting the urge to read before we at least get like a date or something. But yeah, if you enjoyed seasons 1 and 2, it's pretty darn close to how the actual book plays out. So you could definitely decide to go hop and read the book and not get any spoilers really for what's coming in season 3.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing that I have is watching the movie The Hunger Games got me to go read the Hunger Games books, but then I was disappointed by the next 2 movies. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, once I had read the books, it was like that I saw movies 2 and 3, and I was like, oh, those aren't really, or 2, 3, and 4, I guess, because they did break the last book into 2 movies, but
yeah, that was a series. I've read the books before I saw the movies.
Right. That's why I've been like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait until like a whole series comes out and I watch. Like if I don't know it's a book, and then just wait to watch it and then read the book so that I don't have that experience ever again. So
it makes sense. Not everybody's cool with it. Like I've saw The Expanse, like 3 seasons of it before I realized they were books. Then blew through all of the books and then continued watching Expanse when the next seasons came out. And same with Murderbot Diaries. Watched the first season, realized that Murderbot was based on a series of books. Immediately, as soon as I finished the season, went out, checked every book out from the library, blew through that. But I'm usually much more forgiving in most cases because I'm like, oh no, it's hard to adapt. I've done screenwriting classes. It's hard to adapt.
Well, especially with the Hunger Games too, because that's one of the few books that's in first person that doesn't drive me just nuts.
Same.
And that was a series I flew through. Took me forever to actually decide to read it because I was just like, this is a knockoff of Battle Royale. And finally I was at like half price books and saw a paperback copy for like 50 cents. I'm like, sure, what the hell? And the next thing I knew it was like 3 a.m. and I had finished the book and was ordering the others already.
Yep.
And
I hear you so strongly on that stuff because that's the first thing I was like, this is Battle Royale. And to this day, she claims she's never seen Battle Royale, and I'm like, no, it's too similar. Like, too many of the story beats are exactly the same. I
They are
don't buy
pretty
it
close.
at all.
but it's also not that unique of an idea. Like, I don't think Battle Royale was even the first one to do that premise. So
I've never heard of
I
it
don't
before,
know.
Battle Royale.
As somebody who was a fan of the Battle Royale manga and the light novel, which really wasn't a light novel, um, and I'm also a big fan of the Hunger Games, I don't know. I can buy the plausible deniability. I don't think it's that unique of a concept. Just like with Silo and Fallout.
Well,
I think
no,
that's
the
actually
idea
why
of well, I mean, because that's been around since the 50s, right? The idea of having to go down into a bunker in the case of a nuclear war. So there's been lots of fiction, that people have created about that concept. So no, I agree. But the idea of like telling students they all have to go to a place and murder each other, like I don't know of anything other than Battle Royale and Hunger Games that does that concept. That's kind of a unique one. But anyway, let's not get dragged down in that.
Next episode, 5-minute controversy.
So yeah, I mean, believe me, I couldn't think of the way to make it controversial because somebody came out recently, like complain. I can't remember who it was, but there was like an author like complaining about Hunger Games, saying like it was just a ripoff of Battle Royale, and I forget who that was, but I was like, I can't really turn that into a controversy, really, but I could
this again.
Like we talked about, there's a lot of this post-apocalyptic fiction and even post-apocalyptic fiction that utilizes the silo slash vault, slash bunker sort of, idea as far as, okay, we now have like a contained population, within the post-apocalyptic world. What is it about Silo that really interests you, specifically to this series? So, we'll start with you on this one, Stephanie. Like, what is it that draws you to Silo as a story?
I feel like it has a almost kind of like a well, now that Juliette mentioned The Expanse, I'm thinking similar feel to that, where it's kind of like a noir-esque telling of this genre. I feel like the mystery about it is presented more in a whodunit type mystery than it is in your typical sci-fi presented mystery. And like with a bunch of post-apocalyptic or dystopia novels and series and such, where the underlying cause of whatever this dystopia is not always even presented in a way that it sounds like it was even given consideration by the author. I really like the fact that Silo, that from the very beginning, there is a core mystery to not only what happened, but why these silos were prepared. Were they actually prepared for this type of reason? So on and so forth. Hopefully the three of you understand the point that I'm trying to make and can potentially elaborate a little bit better, because I feel like my words are not quite forming this thought as articulated as I would like it to be.
Oh, no, I totally get what you're saying.
Okay.
I totally get what you're saying about it. Juliette, anything to add to that? Like anything, else to say about it or agree
Well,
with
I
her?
mean, how could I not love a show and a series in general where the main character has my name?
Right.
Yes.
I wondered if
the
that was
same
going to
way.
come up.
I mean, nobody spells it this way. I loved it. And the fact that, they call her Jules. Many people call me Jules. I'm like, yes, I dig this. But I get it with Stephanie. Like, I love dystopian fiction and stuff like that, no matter how bleak it is, just because, why not, right? But you give me a setting and then you immediately give me a mystery from page one. I don't know what's going on, but there is something going on. And I want to know what it is within this setting. That I love that. You don't just give me the setting and the world is crap and just that. You actually set me up for a mystery that's going to hopefully tell me more about where we're at and what's all going on. But within the context of the mystery itself, I love it. That's just fascinating to me. And they do it so well because we're just as confused as everybody else. It feels like we don't know. We have to learn about it. I like that we don't get all that exposition right off the bat, that we have to learn as we go. And every time that we're turning around, we're learning something new about that's commonplace to these people. But it's really cool.
Yeah, no, I think that is definitely something that's really unique to Silo, is this sort of idea of even they don't even have a story. Like, because even in other ones where people have been lied to, where they're in like the contained like area, it's like everybody has a story. This is like there is no history past like 100 years ago or whatever, 120 years, whatever it was. And so it's like, so they don't even have a story. They don't even know like what the story is for before. They don't even have a lie or anything. It's just we have no history basically. And I was like, wow, that's different. That's very different. But Ashley, your thoughts on what draws you to Silo?
Yeah, no, totally agree with what everybody is saying about the setting. I found it to be super intriguing that you have basically the self-contained, fully functioning community, but it's underground, so you don't have any like natural light, no fresh air, but yet because of the erasure of the history, people don't know they're missing out, but there's still something within humanity that kind of longs for that. Like, this is not the optimum best way that we could be living, but this is all we know, and this is our safe place. So, and of course, like the constant tension, like a rebellion, or if anything starts to unravel, like the whole society is just going to collapse. And then where do you have to go? Because the outside is toxic. So you kind of have to make this silo society work, or everything falls apart. And I just thought it interesting about like the secret caches of like libraries and information, and how that was chosen to be kept away from the people. And I thought the whole mystery about whether the outside world was actually dead was super fascinating. I wasn't so I was convinced while reading it that it was going to be, everything was going to be great outside, and that if Juliette could just get outside, like the whole world would be great. But then it's not. So it's kind of like takes that mystery and turns it on its head, and it, like, we have no idea what is going on. So I just love that the show is willing to kind of commit to the slow burn, and it rewards your patience as a viewer, and kind of wants you to pay attention. There are some shows that I like to put on in the background and craft, but I feel like this is one of those shows that reward you for really focusing in and paying attention to the details. So I am super curious to see what happens, especially as the introduction of other silos. How many silos are out there? How many are still functioning? Are they all kind of wastelands like the other one Juliette goes to? So yeah, I just think it's super interesting. And but yeah, and also interesting commentary on society and humanity as well, kind of against the backdrop of that mystery.
Yeah, I was right there with you, Ashley, too. I'm thinking for sure Juliette was going to get out there, and it was going to be good. And then I'm like, wait, no, it's not. Oh my gosh, it really isn't.
I know, like she's going to stick it to the machine, and it's like, oh my gosh, wait, like, and then the twisted way that they make people think it looks good, so that they clean and then the people die. Like, wow, like I that was a twist I didn't see coming.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how they got around, but where I was kind of going though, I was like, but like I'm like the people, like if it's all nice out there, then, and yeah, maybe they could program the screens to show them dropping or whatever, but I'm like, that's fairly sophisticated. And also though, it's like, then wouldn't they have like a population of people like just beating on the door constantly, being like, hey everyone,
it's good out here.
Like it's actually good here. And so I'm like, so I thought maybe it was going to be like, so there was an original Star Trek episode called The Way to Eden, where there's a place that looks completely like it's a paradise, but everything is toxic. And so I was like, maybe it looks nice outside, and so they have doctored the image to look nasty, but that's because they know that if people see how nice it looks, they'll all want to go outside and they'll all die because everything's toxic. And so I thought maybe that's how it was going to like sort of explain why the people go outside and see it's nice, but it's like, no, actually it's still like all poisonous and toxic and you die anyway, but it looks nice. That all turned out to be wrong. But I like the fact that, the show leaves you with the possibility that there's lots of plausible scenarios that you can go through of what's actually going on. What are those in the know, actually keeping from everybody and whatnot. And so getting all that detail and everything, and just the twists on as far as like what do how do these characters like decide to do to keep the information or to manipulate people, or how does Juliette survive when she goes outside and all that kind of stuff, where it was like, oh, like, yeah, that's kind of neat. And they set it up. And this is the other thing, there are a lot of shows that annoy me because suddenly they'll pull something out of the blue at the last minute, but they set up the tape like from the beginning. The better tape, and so it's like, because that's the sticking point, right? We can't deal with Juliette. She took the better tape, so so they set that up from the beginning so it doesn't feel, when you see that she's been wrapped in the tape and it's like, closed all the joints in her suit so that, the toxic air isn't getting in, then you're like, of course. That's what she needed to survive.
Well, yeah, because she gets that message passed along to her from, from Walker that they're good in supply. And suddenly she realizes. It takes her a minute, but she realizes.
Yeah, that tape seemed like such a red herring from the beginning. And it's like, why do they keep bringing it up?
Right. Or I thought it was just to make the mayor, the guy who becomes the mayor, who was the head of IT,
Bernard.
like to make him seem like a jerk, that he just cares so much about a minor item that she took. And then it's like, oh no, there's actually a reason, because he's worried that somebody's going to do exactly what she did, and so that's, and again, it all makes sense once you get to the other end of that. And I love that. I love writing that does that, where it's not just like we're just making this up as we go along. And of course, the fact that it's a book, I mean, that's usually books tend to be better thought out, than TV shows anyway. So adapting a book probably does lend itself to that. But I love that it's like, oh yeah, this all works. It wasn't like just some magic thing that we, just do at the last episode just so she can survive. So I love that. I love how thought out everything is. And as you learn new things, it helps to just give you the right context for everything that you've seen, rather than it feeling like, stuff is just getting made up as you go. And so that's what I love about, like, it's a mystery, but it's all satisfying as you go through it. And I love that aspect of it too. But it definitely tickles something in my brain that there is this whole mystery, because like I say, like, I've certainly seen the whole thing of our history is a lie. But this, they don't even have a history, so it's like,
it's just all unique.
Yeah, and just like the idea of like even holding anything of the past is contraband that needs to be turned in, just so that you don't, like, stinking Pez dispenser. They're so worried about a Pez dispenser that's like, this is contraband, and it's like, what are you gonna learn from a Pez dispenser? This is ridiculous. But I love how that keeps turning up, and people think it's like, oh my god, it's this horrible, like, illegal item. What is it? I don't know, but we need to do something about this. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about Juliette as our main character. And Juliette, I know you just gushed about the fact that you have a character named after you.
Oh yeah,
and the funny thing is,
named after me.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, named the same name as yourself. And I find it interesting because she's always like the play, but then when the guy in the other silo talks to her about the play, like, she doesn't seem to know what he's talking about. So I don't know if she actually knows what Romeo and Juliet is, or if there's some other play that they have in her silo that like has a Juliet in it or something. But anyway, but yeah, Juliette, what are your thoughts about Juliette in the series?
It's the weird sentence to have to say, isn't it?
Right.
So I like her because she's not likable. She's not, especially right off the bat, and for a good portion of it, she's not. She even goes out of her way to not be likable. She has very few specific people that she considers close. She's not even really close to her dad anymore. At that point, when we meet her, she's untrusting. She doesn't feel like she can rely on anybody really except herself and maybe a couple of people in mechanical, like Walker and Knox. But I like that about her. I like the fact that she has to push herself to start relying on other people for help. When she gets her hands on the hard drive, she has zero idea what to do with this thing. She is forced to rely on other people for that to figure this out. And even then, she has help, even if it's indirectly and she doesn't realize it at the time, from folks like Lucas and stuff like and folks and stuff like that. She starts to open up more. Especially when she's in the other silo and she has no choice but to rely on Jimmy and so on. She or on Solo. So she doesn't, I don't know. Even then she's still unsure and short with him. But it's amazing the amount of compassion that she does show for somebody who lives, and machines are her thing. Machines are specifically her thing. That's what she relates to. They don't have feelings or anything like that. They tell her when something's wrong, and she fixes them. People don't work like that, so she has to find out how these flesh machines work.
Well, she had trauma at an early age of losing her brother and her mother. So, I mean, I think it's and she blames her father.
She does.
And so, I mean, so she had all her close connections sort of like either lost or like poisoned from an early age. So it kind of makes sense why she turned out that way.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's why it's easier for her to relate to machines, because they don't have emotions, and so she doesn't have to. That's why I think when George comes into her life, it's kind of it's a new thing for her, and that's what sets her on her path. That, and weirdly, Holston. Holston, who for some reason that she did not know, decided that she was going to be the one to figure this out, because he figured out things, a couple of connections, but didn't have any other way or time to tell her. I like that about her, but I like having a character that is unlikable and yet you like them. You want to see them succeed. You want to see them push through. You want to see them make it.
Yeah, I think the key to her is that she doesn't seem capricious or in any way like, yeah, she's kind of abrupt with people, and you can tell that she doesn't have a lot of time for people, but it's not like she's just being a jerk to them or like doing something mean to be mean. She's just kind of like, I'm just doing my thing, and I'm interacting when I need to interact, and I don't want like any like strenuous stuff, but it's not like there's nothing that seems mean or bad about it. Like, and so yeah, I think that's part of the key to like her character, and it's like, and you can tell that she actually cares, even though she doesn't express it like other people. Because, like you say, when she's in a situation where she needs to help somebody, she always takes it on, even, so it's like, it's there. She just doesn't, the connections are difficult.
I mean, what you're talking about is the exact reason why she is the perfect person to try to unravel the mystery, because of that weird balance of, connection and not. She is able to push through when other people might not be able to, because of what they have been told.
Right. And she doesn't care about what other people think about her. And so that's important too, because a lot of the people who have wondered about things, they care about what people think about them, and so they kind of drop it or whatever. And she's just kind of like, no, I'm just going to keep pursuing this. I definitely like that. Stephanie, thoughts about Juliette? On the show, not on the podcast.
Well, there goes my whole thing.
Yeah, I knew. I instantly, I saw the gleam in your eye, and I was like,
no, I mean, Juliette summed up Juliette very well. In the fact that she is a likable, unlikable character. And I was really kind of like, when we first start this show, it does seem like they keep introducing us to who's going to be the main character, and then it's not. So it's amazing that in just like 2 episodes, I was already trying to train myself to not get too attached to her, because
there's a lot of dying in the first few episodes, and the show kind of levels off a bit after that, but it's like all the people you think are going to be the main cast, it's just like bam, 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 bam.
So yeah, her brashness did make it easier to like be like, all right, I'm not gonna get myself attached this time because they're going to be dead in 2 episodes anyway, and we're going to be following someone new. But then we aren't. And suddenly this character who is very, very introverted and intelligent, but comes off as very crass, and she's just thrown into this whole situation that she really didn't want to be in, but she still steps up and tries her best, and eventually it gets to the point where she's just like, well, I'm in too deep now, I can't stop here. And it makes it, I almost feel like her unlikability makes her easier to follow, if that makes any sense, because we're not getting so tied up in what everybody else is doing regarding her, because she's just like, I have a job to do, I'm going to do it. But while at the same time she's not being like completely isolationist and all that type of stuff, she still has interpersonal relationships. Just she's a unique character.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like to Juliette's point, we don't see many characters like this in television. Like in books probably a little bit more, but like, you know, in television or movies, like we don't, this is normally never we might have a side character like this, but we're not usually following this kind of a character in the main, you know, as the main cast. So it is definitely a very unique choice.
Especially not a character like this as the main character that's also femme presenting. Though off the top of my head, I can't even think of any male presenting ones, but yeah, it seems even more unique to have a feminine character who is so just not really devoid of emotion, but not really expressive.
Yeah, I mean she's under a hard shell, right? Like, you know, she was hurt so much as a child that she feels the need to be, you know, very mechanical in her own manner.
Yep.
You know, to sort of keep people away. So yeah, Walker is one of the few people that because that was sort of like her surrogate mom, you know, kind of, you know, looked after her when she went down to mechanical and whatnot. So like that's one of the few people she has like a strong bond with, and you know, not many other people. So yeah, it's I mean, it's very 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 interesting. Like I definitely like how different she is. Ashley, what do you like about Juliette?
Yeah, well, totally agree with what everybody else has said. A really great summary of her character. I like the setup for her, the job she has, that she's an engineer, so she's working down deep in the silo. She's part of keeping this whole thing running. So we know how much she cares about this, because if you don't have engineering keeping all these systems going, it doesn't matter whether people are getting along up top or not. Like, no one can survive down there. So she's very key to the future survival of the silo. So that's something that's definitely on our mind. And then I love the contrast of how then she's kind of suddenly nominated for sheriff and then thrown into a totally new environment. And she realizes just how bad things are, that things are in danger of collapsing. And maybe soon it's not going to matter what happens down in engineering, just because like there's all this top down stuff going on. So I loved kind of how you have someone who's like a reluctant hero, like she didn't ask to be called up to this, but she's going to do it for the good of the silo. And just her bravery in the face of being forced to like go out, like not necessarily her choice, but how she's forced to do that, and how she continues fighting, and how she's basically like, she thinks she's alone for a long time in this other silo before she meets Solo. And just how she continues to fight to survive. Like me, I don't know, I might have just sat down on like the top floor of the other silo and been just like, well, that's it. You know, there's nothing to hope for here. But how she can use her smarts and her engineering skills. So she's uniquely one of those people, I think, that could have exited the silo and then had a chance to survive. So just really excited, having not read all the books yet, really excited to see where her character journey goes from here.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which is how smart she is, and that was one of
Yeah.
the things that I really appreciated about her too, because this has been something that I've been railing against for pretty much my whole life. Is that you look at movies from the 50s and 60s and you could have a smart person as your main protagonist. But generally, as we've gone forward in time, it has generally been that's a supporting character and, we want more reckless, action heavy
Mm-hmm.
type character. Even when we have women as our main characters, they tend to be very much in that action hero
Mm-hmm.
kind of mold for, something like that, where it's like she's a tough, gritty, like physical type woman. And I love having a smart, thoughtful, protagonist as our main character. And I think that that is really great to have because, as we've mentioned, it factors into her understanding of things. And it also kind of factors into her psychology, which I'm glad that Juliette also brought up, is that she does think very much in terms of things as, even as interpersonal things as mechanical. But I like that kind of a character just
Mm-hmm.
generally because I want to follow her because I know that and I feel like it makes sense that people trust her because there is no BS factor there, right? So it's another thing of in the whole silo where everybody's been kind of told a line. A lot of people are suspicious, but they also know, well, what am I going to do? They're basically like, what am I going to do about it? I might as well just go along with what everybody's saying because, otherwise I stick my neck out and then they'll just send me outside. But it's like for her to come in and be like, I have no agendas. This is just the way it is, and I know X, Y, and Z, so therefore Q must be right. Kind of thing is just kind of like, oh yeah, like a lot of people believe her because it's just a lot of confidence, a lot of facts to back her up, like that's great. So I think she's such a cool character. I absolutely love her.
She's very pragmatic and altruistic at the same
Mm.
time. That
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good way to put
Rebecca
it.
Ferguson also, I gotta say, just nails the role. I mean, like, I'm sure as written, a lot of actresses would do great in this role, but I feel like she gives Juliet a grit to her, and it's kind of almost hard to describe her because of the fact that she does have so many layers that I feel like, that has to be a very nuanced performance that the person, playing her gives. And Rebecca Ferguson nails it. And so, even though I've always liked Rebecca Ferguson, like it isn't something like where I just go out and seek, where I've sought things just because she's in it. But I would say that this kind of elevate, like I feel like of the things I've seen her in, this is my favorite performance that she's given, and it has definitely raised my estimation of her as an actress because of just how good she is in this. And
yeah, and
and it
you're right.
helps. I mean, the writing is also good, so they feed off each other, but it is, such a good performance.
But yeah, you're spot on that she is carrying it very well because like Julian and I both focused on how she can be so brash and like an
Mm,
unlikable person, but she is very much caring about what the people in the silo are going on, or rather what they're suffering from. And when she gets to the other silo, she's got all the empathy for those remaining in there, and yet she still does come across as simultaneously a warm, caring character and a harsh, deals no crap
Well, we see in
character.
her own environment, like when she's mechanical, she yells at people for screwing
Mhm.
up and stuff, but it's because it's so important. Like,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
people's lives depend on this. If you screw up, you're going to, people are going to die,
Mhm.
and so it's
Yeah.
important. So you get why she can be that way is because of the stress of working in that and where people do need to have it drilled home that it's like
Mhm.
this isn't just an ordinary job where it's okay if you screw up every now and then. This is a job where if you screw up, you can lose the generator and everybody dies.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know. Um, so, I mean, I don't want to go through every character because we actually do have quite a few characters in this show, but I do want to give everyone a chance to sort of say, like, is there another character besides Juliet that you like particularly either like or want to talk about because they are so interesting of a character, even if they're a character we dislike because they're bad or whatever, like, So, Ashley, is there somebody else besides Juliette that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to mention Solo, definitely. I feel like Steve Zahn is one of my favorite, like, underappreciated actors. Like, I just love him, and it always makes me smile when he shows up unexpectedly, which I like was great when I was like, oh, that's Steve Zahn. So, but yeah, Solo was just so fascinating to me. I mean, you have this guy that has survived a rebellion in another silo, and he's like, he thinks he's the only living survivor. Like, how terrifying that would be. Like, you're just trying to stay alive, you're trying to preserve your life, but there's like for all you know, there's nothing else out there, it's just you. And I feel like he held it together actually probably better than I would have. And like Juliette, I think, gets frustrated with him sometimes, but still has compassion, because I mean, what a terrible place to be in. And yeah, I just thought that was a really intriguing concept, and to see how she comes into his life and then kind of starts restoring some of that humanity, how he starts to care a little bit more outside of himself again. But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting and a good performance.
Yeah, I really like how they've told us so much by just letting us follow sort of Solo's story and whatnot, that we're getting a lot of the background that we've been missing
Yes,
because of
yes.
just knowing what happened in his silo and knowing, like where he is and all of that kind of stuff, and getting more of that information helping us to at least deepen our understanding of the overall scenario, even though there's still lots and lots of questions
Yeah,
left.
yeah.
But we at least know a little bit more than we knew before, and I thought that was like an interesting way of, progressing the plot, forward, and giving us more information.
And I feel like it really ups the stakes too, because Juliet sees like, oh my gosh, if I don't get back to my silo, this
Mhm.
could be what happens. Like, this could be the future of my home and my friends if I don't get back there.
One of the things that I don't know if they'll ever explain it, like it seems to me the most ridiculous thing that it's like, by the way, if there are problems in the silo, blame Mechanical. I'm like, Mechanical's the ones that make sure that you can all survive. Like, why do you want a war with Mechanic? Like, why is that like the go-to in the guidebook to like, I'm
Yeah,
like, that seems like a really, like, you should be blaming any other group in the
yeah.
silo other than
Like, don't throw them
Mechanical.
under the bus.
Right. Like, so what if you like kill the people in Mechanical? Who's gonna run the generator? Like, where are you gonna get that information? Because it all seems like it's handed down from like parents to children, like, in the silo, or, like from the older generation to the younger generation. So if you kill off everybody, it's like, who learns the skills? I don't
Poker face.
know. Well, we'll just do it with bravado.
Yeah.
Um, Stephanie, are there any characters you want to talk about?
Well, I just thought it was funny as you start talking about that, how Juliet's expression just went like, seriously, the poker face. I'm like, she knows something that all of us are oblivious to.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
But anyways, I would bring up Sims. He is
Ooh,
Mm,
a
yeah.
character that I both love and hate at the same time, and
yes.
as of right now, I'm still not sure which side he's on. But I think he has been a fascinating character to follow around, because he does go from like, oh yeah, he's definitely the bad guy, to wait, no, he's not, to well, maybe he still is. Wait, who really is the bad guy in general here? And he takes us through so many different stages of basically the plot antagonist to even being the plot protagonist at
Mm,
times. Um, and the complications that he has with Bernard and with Judicial, and how he's basically like the covert ops guy who knows too much but also doesn't know enough. Um, and I don't know, it's just he is a character that I am very much interested in, while also loathing, and then at other times just really rooting him on.
yes.
I'm not sure I ever rooted him on, but I do feel like he plays the character very well of what he's doing. Like he's sinister in a very good way, like, you know, and has that sort of oiliness that you want from a character that ingratiates themselves into situations and is kind of like, but yeah, I don't know. I never got that he.
Pretty sure there was at least one episode in the second season where he was up to something that I was like, yes, it needs to go his way for a change. Can't remember what it is, but I know I have rooted for him at least one.
Yeah, I gotta say, what I said to Beth, because after we meet the wife, I started saying, you know what? I think that the wife is really the one behind everything. Like, I feel like she's manipulating her husband into doing some of the things that he's done that have been so bad. Because I think she wants him to be mayor and is basically trying to manipulate things that, because she said something like something about their plan or something like that at one point where it sounded like they have like something that they're trying to achieve, and I think she wants to make him the new mayor, and everything has been like sort of putting the pieces in place, and that's why it's so frustrating that he hasn't been made Bernard Shadow, you know, like he thought he would be, is because that's part of the plan that they've been trying to work for, you know. But yeah, I think it's gonna turn out the wife is the truly like awful person of the two of them.
And there goes Juliette again. Just I feel like you need to go off camera.
Every now and then I'm like scrolling to make sure that I'm like, I'm not going to say anything that hasn't been on the show.
Like, double check.
That's good, because I actually did an Invincible podcast, and I had people on who had read all the comics, and like, you know, Sean just like blew away stuff that was just like, I did not know that. Oh, they haven't done that yet in the show? No, they haven't. So I appreciate you taking the time to restrain yourself, you know, to make sure and restrain yourself. But yeah, Juliette, what about you? Is there a character you'd like to talk about?
There's a couple of them that I'm gonna, since we just talked about a bad guy, I'm gonna leave off on Bernard, and we can talk about him, I'm sure, in a few minutes. But I'd like to talk about Walker. I love Walker. Okay, I'm not going to say what I thought I was going to say because you haven't read the book, Nathan. So I'm not saying something about Walker. I'll let you discover that later on, because Ashley and Stephanie would probably know what I would be about to say. But let's just say I love the character of Walker. I think she is amazing. I like her. I like learning about her. I like learning, you know, more about basically her agoraphobia. In a silo. She is terrified. I mean, panic attack, just trying to leave her workroom, and what she does, how she braves it, learning about her history and her wife, and all of that is fantastic. I love the fact that she took Juliette in and saw the innate talent that was there, and pushed her, and became basically a parent to her, became her parent down there, and Juliette needed that, and I think it's one of the best relationships, because it's also Walker that smuggles her the message when she's in the cell getting ready to be taken outside, that says we're good. I can't remember the exact wording, but something about we're good in supply. That's the message that gets smuggled to her, because that's from all of that whole discussion about supply and the heat tape. It's Walker who is also puts it together and is like, oh crap. You know, it's I thought she was well cast, which was also, I'm just gonna say, a little weird to me watching Silo coming off Ted Lasso, because she's played by the same actress who plays Rebecca's mom in Ted Lasso, and I was like,
gosh, I watched those shows in reverse. I plowed through Ted Lasso this summer, so oh my gosh.
Yeah, it blew, because I was sitting there watching Silo going, I know her and I know her voice, but she looks, of course, in Ted Lasso she's a much, you know, richer person with fancy hair and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So she was well cast, and I think she's one of my favorite characters in the book.
Yeah, she kind of reminds me of Tig Notaro's character in Star Trek Discovery. I forget the name of the character she plays in Discovery, but she kind of reminds me of that same, like, the engineer who's a little a little off, like a little different, but like, is still like she's amazing and she's sarcastic and she's like, I love that sort of thing. So yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Wasn't that her the Discovery character's name, Reno?
Reno. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I love Walker because I love when she's just like being sarcastic and being like completely forthright with everybody about what she thinks. And Beth and I totally had it where she would when she had to leave the camera on and everything, we were like, she's talking in code. We were both saying that before that got revealed, that we were like, it's just like, yeah, no, like she's totally got this figured out because she knows what the camera can see and what it can convey. And so it's just like, we're just going to do this in a way that, they have no idea, what we're actually doing. And so I love that again, I love the smart characters doing smart things because I always feel like that ups the game of the story anyway. So, when you have characters that are just kind of like, yeah, they just do stuff, it's kind of like, okay, that's fine, but that's kind of easy to overcome. But when you have smart characters doing smart things, then your villains have to be smart too. And that to me makes the story so much more interesting when you have that, because then as a viewer, you're trying to follow like, how's this going to go? Are they going to outsmart them or are they going to outsmart them? And all that kind of stuff. And that's a far more fascinating story to watch than just, okay, this person does X, that person does Y, they fight,
Oh, and the
comes
payoff when she's talking to Bernard and he realizes it and his face.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's one of the best moments. Just feel you're like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I want to talk about Juliette's dad. And I have to say that, as Pete Nichols, okay. But Dr. Nichols is pretty much what everybody calls him. I really like the portrayal of him as someone who really kind of regret, like he gives the whole like character, like the whole regret feeling of he knows this bad stuff has happened and how he kind of comes to accept the fact that he responded to everything wrong, and even the work that he's had to do in the silo to basically give people false hope while making sure that they can't have children because they've picked the winners and losers of who gets to have children and who doesn't, but they don't want to let people know that they don't get to have children, so they say they do, and then he just pretends to take out the IUD I think it's, and so I love his journey because he is a character that starts out in one place where he has that sort of regret aspect, but he's kind of still doing what he's doing, and seeing Juliette's bravery kind of like inspires him to move forward in his life to try to, first to try to make things right to her, but also to realize that if one person fights the system, then other people can fight the system too, and to, push back himself and eventually sacrifice his life, which I wasn't expecting to happen, but that's what we got at the end of season 2. So, I liked that progression, and I like that we have a character that's like moving. And I also I always feel for like dads, like, when dads are trying to like make things right with their family and stuff like that, always is like a sort of sympathetic reaction that I get with that. So I liked that, and I liked the performance, and I was glad that he was, that they didn't make him like he's just a stickler and like somebody who's just going to toe the line in the silo and everything, that they actually let him grow as a character. So I really like that.
Yeah, now also not quite an IUD. It is a birth control implant, but don't forget, Allison could cut it out of herself, Holston's wife. So an IUD, you're not exactly cutting that out of yourself.
No.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Intrauterine device, for those not in the know.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly why you're not cutting it out of yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you mentioned Bernard, Juliette, and of course he ends up being our main antagonist, right? Like he's the one who is pulling this, like, we learn he's the one that's sort of controlling what happens. At first they sort of set up Sims as like our main antagonist, but really Bernard ends up being the one behind Sims. Is sort of revealed, and I feel like he's also like an interesting character because while he is opposed to Juliette at every turn, and so therefore he's an antagonist, and they make it clear whatever he's doing, he thinks that this is what will guarantee the survival of everyone in the silo. And so I like that it's not just like I like being able to control people, twirl my mustache, kind of thing, where it's like he's really concerned that if people don't do exactly what they're doing and have done for years, that the silo will collapse and that they'll all die. And so I like that as a villain to have that sort of level there, and not because I always hate like the it's all about power kind of villain. That's just such a weak motivation.
And I think that even makes him scarier because he believes deep down that he's doing the right thing. Like, I'm doing these terrible things, but I'm going to help it survive. And there's really like nothing he won't do when like murder, lying, keeping stuff secret. Like, he's willing to do anything to keep the silo going. So I think that's part of what makes him such a like chilling and scary villain, because of his motivations.
Yeah, he murders the judge, and he's clearly in love with her.
Yeah, like, you're not coming back from that. Like, okay, like he's not coming back from this.
Yeah, that was a level, because at first I didn't realize that he was in love with her, and then it's like, oh, he's in love with her, and then it's like, oh, but I'm gonna kill you. It's just
right,
it's like, oh, like that's chilling, like it's just like, okay.
But again, he believes it's for the good of the silo, and that does just make him an extra level of evil in the fact that he thinks he's doing it for the betterment of everyone, that he's willing to go that far.
And what that does, though, is that makes the end of season 2 so terrifying, because he's convinced there's not, like, he's basically like, I might as well go outside now because there's no fixing where we are right now. Like, he's spent his whole life trying to keep everything going, and he's now convinced that there's no way back from what's going on right now. And so it's like, oh crap, like, like if he doesn't think there's something he can do, some levers he can pull or manipulations he can do, and it's all, going to end, then things are really bad right now. And so yeah, I'm very, very interested in what's going to go down. And we don't know, like, I don't know if he dies at the end of the season or if he's going to be there at the beginning, because all that we know is that the flames come, for the decontamination, and,
And we know that Juliette's suit was fixed with a fireman's suit from the other one.
Yeah, so Juliette, I'm sure, is surviving, even if she gets a little singed or whatever. But, like, yeah, like, does Bernard survive? And if Bernard dies, it's like, that's a lot of information that gets lost.
Meanwhile, our Juliette's trying her best to not just...
Yeah. She's doing great. She's given us nothing. She's doing great.
I will say that Bernard really does pull like a season 3 Ashford from Expanse in this, willing to do terrible things to save people, because in season 3 Expanse, where Ashford thinks he's going to save humanity, but I can't tell you anything else beyond that. But yeah, man, Bernard, I also had to say the casting for Bernard, I went into the show not even looking at the cast, and so when Bernard shows up as Tim Robbins, I'm like, well, that's interesting, and turned out to be absolutely perfect in my opinion. I was like, dude, yes, you are pulling off this whole thing. I'm watching this show. If I hadn't read the book, I would not have known when this guy was being genuine, when he's not, when he's good at it, like so good at making
cold
you
and
not
calculating,
right?
Very.
Oh, but man,
yeah,
the
he doesn't
end
let
of
the
season,
emotions out
until the end of the season,
right?
And he's
Until the
like,
end of the season. Yeah, when Bernard breaks, that was a true, like, it really felt tense to me, where it was like, this show, has moved. I don't want to say slow because that makes it sound like it wasn't good. But this show has a certain pace where it's like you're kind of going through, and because there hasn't been a lot of action, it's a lot of just investigation and learning things and whatnot. That it's like it's hasn't been a show that I felt like really like immediate sort of danger or sort of tension in a lot of scenes. There've been a few, there hasn't been a lot. But that the end of season 2 was like gripping my armrests, kind of like, oh my God, what's happening? And of course, part of it is because we don't know everything like we know some things, we know there's an AI, and we know the AI has said some things, but actually what it all means, we still don't know that. It's kind of like Bernard is freaking out, but again, like I don't know entirely why. And so yeah, like all of this and all of the scenario and everything that's going on, it's just the optimal point to just be like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm worried, but I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, so, for those of us who haven't read the books, right? Like this is like a really like, interesting point because there's still like so many questions like left over as far as like, what is happening? What are the things that we've seen mean? What happened in the past? And
why did why does the Juliette Silo's records get wiped out 140 years ago, but obviously people still lived. They don't have history past 140 years.
Yeah. I was confused because I thought that would be unique to her silo too, but I thought almost like Solo was implying that happened in their silo too. Am I wrong about that?
I'd have to go back and rewatch that episode.
Okay.
To be sure about that.
Okay, because I thought that basically they had the same thing where it was like, they had wiped their records too, and all the only history that was in that sort of what do they call the inner vault? The one that only is in IT or whatever, the sort of secret chamber vault.
Oh heck, if I can remember the exact name for it.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, but yeah, like the one that only like one person in their shadow can even like look at, that has all the books and art and everything from the original work, and ice cream. Apparently, I'm glad that they decided to preserve ice cream.
Yes,
for just the most important people in the silo. So yeah, like Stephanie, is like what are the questions you're still hoping that get answered in this show?
Well, now I'm trying to figure out if there's something I'm remembering that's from the books or if it was in the show. Because I thought
I mean, if it's only in the first book, I feel like it's probably not too big of a spoiler if you give it away.
Well, I thought they had already kind of explained how nobody recalls stuff beforehand.
Oh, well, no. They said, yeah, they wiped out all the records. They destroyed all the records. We know that.
Yeah, but beyond that, there's a reason why, like, vocal history didn't get passed down.
I think it's in the book, but I don't think they've come to it described it in the show. I'd have to go back and double check.
Okay.
By the way, it's called The Legacy.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I have to double check.
Well, I got too hung up on that. What was your question, Nathan?
Oh, I was just wondering, like, what are some questions that you... Because I don't know if they're going to answer everything that I'm wondering about. That some things they might just leave vague, but I'm just curious, like, what are questions that you want to see answered, in this show?
I want to see the context for that very last scene.
Yes.
Like the almost epilogue of season 2.
So Beth turns to me and she says, until they showed the Pez dispenser, I didn't realize that this was in the past. And I was like, what? She's like, I thought that they were telling us that the silo was all a lie and like people were still living in cities and stuff and like everything was fine outside. And I was just like, okay.
I think Corey felt the same way too when he watched it.
Oh, okay. Like she got really confused, but I was like, no, this is like before, and that's the Pez dispenser that we see in the silo.
I mean, I'll admit, at first I kind of was like, oh, is it just their area that's completely a wasteland? But yeah, as that scene kept going, it became more and more apparent that, this is a flashback, so to speak. But yeah, I know that there is more context to it. Just like I said, been keeping myself contained to the first book because I was introduced to the series through the series rather than through the book. So I do kind of want to tag along, but I have the other books. They're like 6 feet away from me, and talking
They're
about
calling
this
to
right
you.
now. Yes, they really are. Like, I'm actually finally setting up a new bookcase, and I pulled them out of the just stack of books that have been homeless. So I know exactly where they are right now because I was doing that before this podcast.
Okay, to make you feel better, Stephanie, I looked it up because I had to make sure that we weren't going to like touch something on a book spoiler. And yeah, Bernard tells Lucas that Quinn destroyed the records 140 years ago and drugged the water, so to make people forget. Because because rebellions had been happening up to that point, like clockwork every couple of decades. But nobody remembers.
I have a hard time with that, but that's fine. Because I'm like, if you drug the water to make people forget, like, how, like, their whole history, like, so say you're like a 40-year-old person and somebody drugs the water so you forget the last 40 years, and you're basically like a baby at that point. So it's like, how did they survive and still produce things? And that's still, that seems kind of...
Juliette has an answer.
I mean, they already kind of gave that in the show, though, with the fertility specialist who was being concentrated drugged to make her just seem loopy and all that type of stuff. But they were managing it to be targeted memory type thing.
Right. And yeah, so they show that they can target to like a certain year or whatever to like reset somebody. Like, we can take you back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. But it's like, if you do that en masse to the entire population, that's super problematic, because it's like your entire population just lost their whole lives, like memories. So it's like you have to retrain everybody. Like, that's, I don't know, that scenario seems a bit sus, but I mean, I don't disbelieve that that's the thing, that's what the book is saying. I just feel like that's
I have a feeling that there is more in the book than what was in the show, because it doesn't strike me as so odd, but I won't elaborate because I don't think that it was further discussed in the show.
Okay. Ashley, is there something that's like a burning question for you that you want to have, or even multiples?
Yeah, I am dying to know how this all ends up. Like, I literally have no clue, like, what will be the status of the world once the final episode of the final season wraps. Like, will there be some way that these silos kind of come together as a community and communicate with each other? Do they find a way to go up top and make the world livable again? Or like, is really Juliette's silo the only one still out there alive? Like, there's so many different ways this could go, and I'm really fascinated to see how that all ends up. Like, what is Juliette's day-to-day life for this at the very end of the story? Like, what does her life look like going forward? And I think it's kind of neat. Sometimes the stories you can kind of track and see where the characters are going. You can kind of guess how the story will play out. I have no clue, and that's kind of exciting to me. Like, there's a story that's going to explore some stuff, and I don't know where it's going to go. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how this all ends up.
I think it's because you have a Dune poster behind you, but as soon as you said, like, are they going to make, like, the world, like, all better or whatever, I just, like, flashed back to the original Dune movie, and it's just like, yeah, Juliette will fight Sims, and when she kills him, it'll just rain, and we'll just be like, oh, everything's better now.
Yeah, we'll just go up top.
Right, just go on top, because it rained. So, this is probably just me, because so much of my job is, when I was working as an engineer, so much of my job was about make sure that if you make something, people can service it. Something seems really, really weird, and this might be something that the author never even thought of. Something seems really weird to me about the silo and the generator, that it's that hard to service something that important. Like, where it's like, they didn't even have like a they had to come up with a plan, right? Like they didn't even already have instructions on, oh yeah, if the generator starts breaking, this is how you service it. And it seemed really convoluted and really dangerous how they had to do that. I'm like, I want an explanation for why there was like almost no thought put into servicing the generator because that just seems so crazy to me that it's like, of course you would have to make the generator so that people could go in there and fix it if stuff started breaking. Like, this is supposed to be keeping humanity alive. So that's one of my main questions. But the other one is, I think somebody else mentioned, like, I want to know if any of the other silos are still, is this like the last one that's like actually working, or have they all like had rebellions or whatever and,
On the way of solos?
Yeah, like maybe there's like one or two people alive, like Solo and his, where there's like, half a dozen people, left, or something like that. But it's like, are they really like the last fully functioning one? And then maybe that's why Bernard's so freaking out, because he's seen like, oh yeah, all the other ones, like we get data from all the other ones and they all collapse. Like, so like, we've got to figure this out. And then it's sort of like, how did it get this way? Right? Like, and are there other places, like to Stephanie's point, we know wherever this is, we're guessing United States, because, and also the flashback would seem to indicate this is United States. But, is England okay? Is Africa okay? Is the whole world poisoned? Are there other silos other places around the world? Like, what is sort of going on in the rest of the world? I would like to know those sorts of details too of, are we seeing the last pocket of humanity? Or is this, are there at least other people alive, somewhere, that kind of thing. And to me, like, I'm thinking maybe the end game is going to, because if they fix the planet in 2 seasons, I mean, I'll have to wait to see how it gets written, but it almost seems a little too much. Whereas if the idea is figuring out how to like safely, like, first to communicate with other like pockets of humanity, whether in other silos or elsewhere, and then to figure out a way of like getting out and like interacting so that they can pool resources and stuff, that would be to me like a satisfying, like happy ending where it's like, we're not alone. And, we can sort of come together with these other people. That might be a satisfying. But again, I don't know. There might be other satisfying, but that's like sort of the one I'm sort of thinking in my head, like might be like a way to like sort of satisfyingly like, expand the, to get out of this is to just, connect. Because, the story is called Silo, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're siloed, right? They're not able to interact with others. Whereas, connections, getting out of getting out of your silo and forming connections, almost thematically also seems to work with, Juliette was very siloed in her life, and she's learned to make connections, and she's coming out and she's achieving great things by making these connections. So again, I feel like almost thematically, it seems like that might be a cool way to like, go at this. But I'm sure there are an infinite number of ways that this story could end that I'll still be like, oh, that was a pretty good way of progressing this and bringing it to a conclusion, So, we'll just have to see.
I cannot wait to talk to y'all after you watch the next season, after you read the next book. If you choose to read the next book before the next season comes out, message me because we will talk. But because I realize you can't even ask me this question on this part, because what questions do I want?
Right. Well, that's why I'm not asking you, because you know all the answers.
I'm just chiming in and nodding where I think it's appropriate at this point, or where I think, yeah, you want that question answered
you
too.
Just wait.
But
I mean, I was just looking it up, and it seems that they filmed seasons 3 and 4 concurrently, and they finished back in May.
Okay.
Somehow there still isn't a concrete release date for season 3, but it's predicted it'll be early this year.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one that even said January. I'll believe that when I see it pop up.
They would have announced it by now.
I don't know. I swear Apple sometimes doesn't announce it until like 2 weeks before they drop it. I have noticed.
Oh yeah, there have been times where I'll like be just chilling, and all of a sudden my watch will pop up with an alert of, hey, the show on Apple TV is back. I'm like, oh.
Like, what?
Okay.
Yeah, they sometimes do not announce it, and it's just crazy that way. I would not be surprised if suddenly it just pops up in the middle of January, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll
what I
see.
like about that though is it means there won't be a huge gap between, because that's one of my problems with seasons on a lot of streaming shows where it's like have season 1, then in 2.5 years have season 2, then in another 2.5 years get season 3, and it's like you forget everything that happened last season by the time, unless you have the time to rewatch and before going into the new season. So yeah, I like that they're making them back to back, because that probably means that this year we get season 3. Next year we get season 4, so at least there won't be like this huge lag of forgetting everything that happened.
Yeah, I do like that, but I got used to the like multiple years between seasons with Sherlock. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm just used to it. I love it when the wait is shorter. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not horribly upset by the longer wait. It's okay. It also helps. I've read the books.
Well, okay.
Cool. Yes, I know where we're going.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, though, I mean, in a sort of global sense, though, I do think it's why streaming shows have had a hard time keeping an audience, and why a lot of shows do go out after 2 or 3 seasons is because of the fact that they were so long between seasons that people sort of lost interest in the in-between time. So I think it's helpful just in a sort of global sense also, because I think that it helps keep people's interest when they come more frequently.
Yeah, we only get like 8 episodes and it takes 4 years to get the second season.
Yeah,
because I've had people say that exact thing. I'm like, oh, do you want to talk about season 2 of this show? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's then they watch season 1, and we're like excited about it at the time. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I'll get to that at some point, kind of thing, because it's like people sort of lose interest like when it's so long, since
I think a lot of people lost interest in Snowpiercer that way.
Yeah. Well, the fact that Snowpiercer's 4th season migrated
was held hostage.
Right, yeah, was held hostage, I think also hurt Snowpiercer, but yeah.
But yeah, you guys, I mean, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for you guys to see more. I am so excited hearing your questions and your theories and your thoughts. That's the best part of this for me, is like hearing y'all's conversations and what you're hoping and thinking. And
I have a feeling now that my entire weekend has just been killed by you, because I'm going to end up sitting here in this exact spot right now, just like glued to the books. And Tim is going to be like, hey, can we eat or something? And I'll be like, you're a grown man.
You can eat.
Just one more chapter. Just one more chapter.
Well, I mean, think about it. You've enjoyed you have read the book now that you've seen the first season, and you're okay with the changes that have been made with it. I mean, I feel like if they're able to adapt the first book that well, I feel like you're safe to read the next ones. But that's just my opinion, because I'm that person who can't wait when I realize there's a book series and just plows through it.
No, I mean, it's fair. I mean, I certainly won't question anyone who's going to read. If I had the time, I might read the books. But it's like I barely read anything because I don't have the time. So it's kind of my issue.
I haven't done the audiobook. I have it. I just haven't listened to it. I don't know how the narrator is. Otherwise, I might recommend it or not. Because I recommend Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobooks to everybody if they don't have time to sit and read. Because Jeff Hayes is the best narrator for those books I've ever heard. But yeah, I'd have to go. I'll give it a listen and see. I don't know if you're an audiobook person at all, because some people it's easier for them on commutes and while they're doing stuff around the house to listen to an audiobook and read that way. And I still, that is totally fine. If that's how you have to if that's how you want to read, go for it. It's still reading the book.
Right. And I mean, Nathan can attest to this particular thing, in that audiobooks can sometimes completely change your opinion on something. Because just not that long ago, I had to message Nathan. I'm like, oh, hey, I don't think I've told you this before. Remember how I used to hate Tom Bombadil? I'm like, yeah, I recently listened to Andy Serkis narrating all of them. And oh my God, it's impossible to not like Tom when Andy Serkis is narrating him.
He's such a good narrator. He does Small Gods by Terry Pratchett, and it's perfect.
Oh yeah, he's a fantastic narrator. And all his voices in The Lord of the Rings was just hilarious too, because it was like you could tell he was trying not to impersonate people he worked with, but at the same time he's definitely doing it. But yeah. Sorry, little side tangent.
I'm surprised. So I'm surprised you listened to it. You've read Lord of the Rings multiple times, and you like listen to an audio.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
I've
to
read
me, that
it
would just seem
many
superfluous. I'm like, if I'm going to listen to an audiobook, it would be something I haven't read, like, actually.
No,
Yeah.
I've read them numerous times,
Mhm.
and then Andy Serkis started doing the narrations, and every single one that he's narrated, I've gotten, even if I haven't necessarily listened to it so far.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure so far it's been The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and The Silmarillion.
I hate that book so much.
Yeah, that's the one Tolkien book I've only touched like once, so I'm hoping that the stories in it are good, but it's just not.
All right, I'm gonna recommend something, and then we're gonna move on from talking about Tolkien and Middle Earth. But listen to Feather Summarizes the Silmarillion podcast. Feather is amazing. She makes it interesting. She makes it a story, and she really does a deep dive into what it all means and everything. I absolutely love that podcast. Like, she's done now. It was like 60 episodes or something, but like it was really good. Like, she'll go like, a few pages at a time or whatever, but she really talks about like, what does this mean? Like, what is the significance of this and all that kind of stuff. And like, it's really good, like, sort of, exposition on the Silmarillion that really helps you like remember, what all the events are and everything that's in that. Because, it's not written as a story. It's written as like a mythology, right? So, I mean, it's, a lot happens in just a few pages. So, yeah. But anyway. But yeah, no, I mean, Silo, I don't think I can say enough good stuff about it. Like, I mean, it's funny because I bring it up For All Mankind in the same sentence just because they're both on Apple. They're both, I think, of the same quality, but very different in what kind of a story that they're telling. Um, but I love them so much. Like, they are really writing on a level that is much better than I think the average. Like, there are lots of other shows that I like, but I feel like those two shows are writing at a higher, like The Expanse did. Like Julia has mentioned The Expanse several times. Like The Expanse also was a show in fairly recent history that I felt like was writing on a much higher level than like most shows do. It seems interesting that a lot of these shows based on books, like can write on a higher level. Although For All Mankind isn't based on a book, but they're just really good with that. But yeah,
I still need to check that show out.
Oh, it's so
good. So good.
I love alternate histories, and that's an alternate history that is
it's an alternate history, isn't it?
Yeah, that's another one of my
I really
things
enjoyed
too.
Man in the High Castle. That was a great alternate history too.
Mm.
And the book is only like, good golly, that one seems like a middle grade book. And they turned it into such a much bigger series.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like space at all, For All Mankind is the way to go. If you like The Expanse, For All Mankind is the way to go.
I did like the
Yeah, I mean, it's a very serious, hard sci-fi, but it's basically like, oh, what if we didn't just give up on space in the 70s? What if the space program just, and it's just like, I'm just eating it up, like, yes, technology, all the things I'm arguing with people about nowadays that are like, why spend money on space? We have so many problems on Earth. And it's like, yeah, guess what? We'll be like 50 years ahead of where we are now technologically if we, go into space. So, yeah. So there's no alien element in For All Mankind, like in The Expanse with the proto-molecule, but it is very hard sci-fi in the same, like, way where it's like all real physics and stuff like that. And their world, like the latest season was in like the 2000s, and they're already so far ahead of us technologically. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know, that's exactly.
Where you just kind of start crying, like,
yeah, I know. Like,
we could have had it all.
It's like, yeah, guess what? When you need to solve the problems of living in the harshest environment in the universe, guess what? You figure out problems to help people on Earth too.
I think at this point we're probably closer to like all going to live in a silo than going to live on the moon.
Right.
So not to be depressing, but
yeah, and here I thought I was the downer this time. Thanks, Ashley.
Didn't mean to bring us down, but
you're right.
All right, but yeah, I mean, to anyone listening to this, because I know some people listen to these even when they haven't watched or read or whatever we're talking about. I highly recommend, even if you don't have Apple Plus, see if you can find like a free month or whatever. And I think Silo is a fine place to start. My other recommendation would be For All Mankind, if you get a free month to try to binge that. But Silo only has 2 seasons, so it's easier probably to binge in a free month than For All Mankind is. But depending on, your watch, schedule, maybe you can binge 4 seasons of For All Mankind also in a month. But yeah, I think Silo is well worth your time to check out, and I think that you will enjoy. Like, here's the weird thing, and this is one thing I guess I want to leave everybody with, because I did just think of a question. So one of the people that recommended Silo to me said it may be too depressing for you. Obviously the setting is, post-apocalyptic, and it's a really bad time. I don't feel like tonally Silo is anywhere near as depressing as other shows that I've seen that just feel like relentless downbeat constantly. So I'm just kind of curious how you guys...
You mean like Walking Dead?
Well, I actually don't watch The Walking Dead.
I love Walking Dead, but it's a downer.
Yeah, but there are other shows like that, right? Where it just feels sort of relentlessly like just everything is bad. So even though the scenario is bad, I feel like individually watching the characters, like I don't feel like every episode is just like, oh God, like it's more bad. So I'm just kind of curious, like, Ashley, like, do you feel like this is like a relentlessly like depressing like kind of show?
Yeah, I do not, which again is interesting because as you say, like a lot of bad stuff happened. It is kind of a bleak life, but I think they focus on like the characters, like the intelligence of Juliette and her problem solving and the mystery. So it almost leans more into that than just like we're living in this terrible dystopian world, because I mean, they do kind of have like a community, like things are okay-ish in the silos. So yeah, I don't think it reads as super depressing and bleak to me. Hopefully the ending of the story will not change that statement, but like at least for now, like I feel like there's still hope for this to be resolved.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, Juliette, what do you think?
I don't think it's nearly that depressing. I can't remember when you asked 50 weeks ago. I had to go look it up. And I had recommended Silo because I don't remember if season 2 was all out at that point or not. I will say the first season does kind of end on what feels like a kind of a low note. I don't think it's a relentless, depressing show. As a dystopian show, I do feel like it is down, but isn't that kind of the point? It does have a lot of sad things in it that happen. Yeah, but I don't feel like it's a relentless march continuing into worse and worse and worse. We do indeed have plenty of ups. We have plenty of pushing forward. We have plenty of intrigue and mysteries, and there are happy moments. So no, I don't think it's horror. It's not The Stand, and I listen and read that for comfort. Maybe you're the wrong person to ask.
Stephanie, like, what do you think about the tone of the show?
I mean, it's not funny. There's not humor in it.
There are individual moments that are, but yes, I mean, I wouldn't call the tone of the show like funny, yeah.
But I don't know that I would necessarily say it's depressing. It's portraying a reality, and there is hope among the people. Everybody in there is trying to live the best life they can, and yeah, the only thing I can think of is it's not a comedy, but it's not really depressing. It's just it just is.
Yeah, I mean, like, so my thing to this is I feel like because we focus on Juliette and we focus on how Juliette is overcoming the obstacles put in front of her, I feel like the show is actually a fairly, like, yeah, the starting point is X, but I feel like the tone of the show is actually fairly hopeful within that environment, because it doesn't seem like, because even with everybody sort of losing their mind in season 2, since we don't know what the thing is that Bernard is terrified of, it still doesn't feel, hopelessly depressing to me because I don't know yet, like, what the thing is. It's worrisome, but I've seen Juliette overcome every obstacle that's been put in front of her. And so I have, like, faith in Juliette, that so it doesn't fill me with dread that I'm going to see, like, a mass death of, like, all the characters that I've come to enjoy over the course of the show or anything. So I don't feel that. I actually felt more tense and depressed watching Foundation, which is one that everybody was recommending. And I don't there are a lot of reasons I don't like it, but I did feel like the tone of Foundation is far more bleak than the tone of Silo. So, like, I don't know. I don't know where that came. So I'm just saying that to people listening to this. Like, I don't find Silo, even though it is in a post-apocalyptic world, to be depressing. In the same way, I don't think like Fallout's a much different thing, but I don't find Fallout to be a depressing show either, even though it's in a post-apocalyptic world. Now, that's a much more outlandish, weird post-apocalyptic world, but I'm just saying that it doesn't have to be a depressing show just because it is a post-apocalyptic scenario. You can have other tones, and, like, I don't feel that the tone of Silo is oppressive. I feel like the tone of Silo is almost like, let's celebrate the ingenuity of humanity, that in this dark, scenario, that there are people that can overcome the physical, like, problems that are present, but also overcome the sort of political, like, problems of the system that is obviously screwed up, but people are becoming aware of it, and they're fighting it, and they're doing that sort of thing. So far I feel like it's hope. Now maybe seasons 3 and 4 will just be like nope and just, like, go completely oppressive. But I'm hopeful that the show will continue in the same mold, that even though we will be presented with obstacles, that, Juliette will keep moving things forward, and the characters with Juliette will keep moving things forward, and, that we'll see the layers sort of get peeled back as they move forward, and things eventually get better, for them.
Are you sure what Bernard is afraid of wasn't already revealed in the show?
We know the AI said something to him, and I'm a little confused about what the AI was getting at. But Bernard knows, and Bernard's terrified.
I feel like Juliette knows, and that's part of why she was so urgent to get back to the silo. And again, I don't remember what was left out from the books that was in the show.
Well, I think he does. Like, I think maybe they implied that, like, everybody's gonna die, but again, I don't know exactly why. Like, what the AI doesn't like that's happened. Like, I don't know. It still felt like kind of confusing to me about what's happening and why it's happening, and, But yeah, I think that the implication was everybody's gonna die. That the AI is just gonna kill everybody. Like, I don't know why. Although that's another question I had. I mean, I think it's so that people don't understand, like, the higher level of programming, but, like, why is all the tech looking like it's from the 80s when they obviously have AI, Like, so it's like, and I'm guessing it's just so people don't understand, like, higher levels of computers where they could, like, maybe hack the AI. But again, I would like to know, like, why is all the tech that does exist in the silo so primitive compared to what obviously, because at first I thought maybe this was like an alternate world where, like, in the 80s there was a nuclear scare and they all went down into their, bunkers and took the computers they had, but it's obviously not that. So, again, I'm curious what the actual scenario is.
I was saved by having to go dive to keep my cat from eating a knitting needle.
Yeah, another thought I had was just, like, the amount of time, money, and resources that it would take to build these silos. So, like, how long did they have to put these up? Like, obviously can't go up on a day, but if it was, like, rushed, does that explain maybe why there's not as good backup for the, like, generator and power source as there could have been, because they had to kind of fast track this project? So I'm fascinated by all of that too, because you can't just throw together, like, this massive civilization, but yet when you think of an apocalyptic scenario, things can kind of go bad fast. So very curious to see how that
the other
happened.
weird thing is that they're silos, right? So you'd think that they just repurposed like missile silos, but they showed like the big digging machine. So it seems like
Yeah.
these were dug specifically for this purpose. So it's like, why not bunkers? Why silo? You know, like you get what I'm saying? Like it seems
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
that they did something that looks almost like a missile silo rather than just doing like a bunker. You know, like what again, I don't know. Again, this might just be like the authors, like they just like the idea of a silo, but I'm hoping there's something more to it than that, that there's a reason why it's a silo, rather than something else. So I don't know. Other than maybe a
You're
thematic
doing
thing.
great, Juliette. Like I keep trying to look down at your side of the Zoom screen, and nope, she's not giving me anything. She's
Yeah, I'm
A+.
loving watching your expression as
I don't
speculation.
even want to like give away if it's answered or not, because I know. And I don't want to be like, I don't want to tell you that, yeah, you're going to find out an answer, or nope, got no clue. I want to let you discover these things on your own, and it's so hard.
You're doing great. But I definitely like watching you while we're...
I hope what we're conveying to anyone listening this that hasn't watched the show, that it's really fascinating and we're all like really curious about what is going on here. And so again, I just want to put it out there, I feel like good television needs to be supported because there's so much garbage that obviously gets views because it keeps coming, and I want to kind of fight this idea that Netflix has put out here that like if something gets canceled, it was intrinsically bad and only good things get continued. So it was pretty much like one of their like people said, like it's like, oh, like the reason we cancel so many things is because we are trying to make sure that only good programming like survives. And I'm like, so you're basically saying that in your opinion, anything that got canceled was bad, and I don't agree with you. There are other reasons why things don't get views right on opening day, which is, Netflix's thing is like, oh yeah, it doesn't get the views the first week. It's obviously crap. So I want good television to be supported. It's the reason why I'm trying to plug that if you haven't seen it, watch it. Because I want them to get the views. Because I know Apple isn't as bad as Netflix, but, just in general, I want good television to be supported by people. So all right, anything you feel like we gotta say before we get out of here? Stephanie, anything about Silo?
It's a good show. You should check it out. If you're one of those people who just really hates Apple, at least read the books. And if you're one of those people who hates Apple and hates books, well, you're missing out. So that's on you.
I have to say the fact that I hate Apple was in fact one of my reasons for not getting Apple TV earlier. So, in fact, I've told Apple how much I hate them. But anyway, Ashley, anything we want to say before we go?
This has been a really great discussion. I've loved digging into the show with you all. And just so excited to see where it goes next and looking forward to hopefully getting together and chatting again once we kind of know how all this plays out.
Yeah, Nathan, if you get the same three of us together, I'm definitely down for continuing this conversation after 3 comes out.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, I mean, this is now one of my shows. Like, some shows, I watch, but I'm like, it didn't feel special enough for me to do a podcast episode on. But like, yeah, this is a show like this, and For All Mankind, they're my shows now. And so, yeah, I definitely want to talk about the next seasons as they come out. And ironically, the reason I got Apple TV to watch Monarch, I kind of felt like that was a meh show. So like, I don't want to do I didn't want to do a podcast.
Yeah, that's kind of what got me in the door too. Yeah. But there's like so much other good stuff on there. So I guess it worked in that sense.
I mean, I liked it better than any of the American Godzilla films, which I don't really like that much, because I did like sort of like the street level idea of how does all this kaiju stuff like affect people on the street. But I still don't feel like it was anywhere near as good as something like For All Mankind or Silo, like as far as the writing and everything. So yeah. But Juliette, anything you want to say about Silo before we go? Non-spoilery, of course.
Hey, I've done really
No,
well
you've done great.
Like even double checking on my phone, am I going to say something? No, just that it's an amazing show. It's an amazing book series. I feel like if you want to do both, great. If you want to do them in a certain order, great. But give one or the other or both a try, because it is a fantastic dystopian setting, and you don't get a lot of those that are well written. and that still feel different. Again, this felt different. This gave us like mystery right off the bat, and it's worth it. It really is. Not to mention the casting is great in this, and so is the music. The score is haunting and fits it perfectly. Because I know we didn't even touch on that, but those opening credits, that opening theme, ooh, it
is good,
like everything. But the music, it's not intrusive, but it enhances the scenes perfectly. So yeah, also I'm just gonna say it's been like the most surreal episode that I've been in, where it's constantly like, here's how I feel about Juliette. Juliette does this. It is just odd, but I really, really, really want to come back for the next one with you guys, because I have to know what you think. I have to know your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, because I always get excited when people like watch things that I've seen before, and like I want to know like, what do you think about it? Like, so I totally get that it's
this is the first time I've been in something where I actually know the background and no one else on the episode does, or what happens. So this is crazy and so exciting. I'm so excited for you guys. I really am.
Yeah, I gotta say that since you brought up the opening and we didn't talk about the opening, I will say, like, I don't know how significant the visuals in the opening are, but it's like the silo, and then it's like a DNA helix, and then it's like a seashell, and I'm like, is that significant somehow? Like, I kept trying to like figure out like how like the silo and the DNA helix and the seashell are all related. And like I had all these weird theories that turned out not to pan out. So I don't know if that's just they're just doing cool visuals with just turning a silo into other like shapes or what they're doing. But like I'm curious now, like whether that has any like thematic like meaning or anything beyond just like, yeah, well, we're playing this sort of haunting music. We're gonna, spin around the silo and turn it into other things. So okay. But anyway.
Okay, now I can unfreeze my face. It's good.
Okay. All right, well, let's say goodbyes and let people know where they can find us. So let's start with you, Stephanie.
All right. Well, you can find me online sporadically. Typically, I don't know where I tend to post more often. Lady Alcrea is where my cosplay stuff is. AK Stevens is my author side. And if you go to my website, which right now is AK Stevens, is it just akstevens.com? I can't even remember. Yes, akstevens.com.
Great job promoting yourself.
I was getting my usernames confused with my website and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you can find me there. In my About Me page, I've got little blurb down at the bottom that is my my staff, and it's basically me and my cats, and then my beta reader and the person who tends to do my artwork. But you'll notice that there's me and also me but goth, and also me but goth links to all of my my cosplay stuff, whereas me links all my author stuff. So
okay. And so even though you gave that you're Lady Alcrea and AK Stevens, where would those be, Stephanie?
Oh, yeah. I guess Facebook, Instagram, in theory, Blue Sky. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm hit or miss online.
Right. No, I know. But I just wanted you to, to give like Instagram and Blue Sky and that sort of stuff so people know.
Take an outro from me from an episode where I did it well and just place that here.
Oh. All right, Ashley?
Hi, you can find me over on the ESO podcast blog. I write about quick hit reviews of movies and TV and books. So lots of great stuff I think coming up this year that I'm excited to dive into.
And you can find that on esonetwork.com.
Yes. I know. And I was trying to think like, it just like autofills on my computer, so you don't have to remember the website. Then like when someone asks you,
well, like, I feel bad because like we're all part of that network, right? But the ESO podcast doesn't exist anymore, right? So even though the ESO network exists, the ESO podcast does not. And so I was like, I better make sure that people know it's ESO Network.
Yes, thank you. I still stuck in the past there. So,
Right.
but yes, the ESO Network website. I still blog about movies and stories and things like that.
All right, and Juliette?
You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky as Rumi Elf, Rumielf, and that was chosen long before K-pop Demon Hunters because I'm a fan of the poet Rumi. Let me just throw that out there in case anybody was wondering. You'll find a lot of cosplay, pet, craft, workout photos and posts on there. You can also find me on both places as Crafts by Elf. I tend to repost, so if you're on one, you'll probably see the other show up because I do a lot of knitting and crocheting and other bracelet making, and I just like to post about them. So, but yeah, you can find me there, and hopefully, eventually soon, Nathan and I will be back to talking about some classic Who, because it's been a while, and I feel like I need to get back to that. I've just been reposting and seeing my reactions to some old Who episodes about his hat, man, that hat and that cloak. Yeah, no, that first Doctor, man. He loved his outfits.
Yeah, more on that later. But yeah, Stephanie, Ashley, and Juliette, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's a wrap on Silo, everyone. What did you think about the episode? What did you think about our cast this week? What do you think about Apple Plus or Apple TV or whatever it's calling itself? What do you think about Silo? What do you think about these kinds of topics of just covering a television season? You can let us know in a whole bunch of different ways. One way is to email us at everything@42cast.com. Another way is to go to our website, 42cast.com, and leave us a message on any episode. You can go to our Facebook, facebook.com/42cast, or you can go on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads at 42cast and leave us a message in any of those places. You can also leave us reviews on Apple Podcast or your podcast platform of choice. With Apple Podcasts, the more reviews we get, the more we show up in searches. So if you have an Apple account, if you haven't left us a review yet, we'd really appreciate if you would do that. You can also help out this show and all the shows on the ESO Network by going to the ESO Network Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/ESO Network. You can get access to early episodes of some shows, exclusive episodes of some shows, and a whole exclusive ESO Network podcast only available to patrons. So if you have the funds to contribute, we would really appreciate if you would do that. My two other podcasts, Time Streams and Legendary Forces, are both still on hiatus. Legendary Forces is a Star Wars podcast. Time Streams is a Doctor Who podcast. Keep watching this space. Still trying to get those going again. In Watch News, Beth and I are still watching Gravity Falls. We're still watching Daredevil Born Again. We're still watching 12 Monkeys. And we're still watching The Night Agent. And we're still watching One Piece as an anime. So not much has changed since any of my previous updates, but I will definitely keep you posted. No change in con news, just going to Chicago TARDIS this year, but I will let you know if any of that updates. Alright, that's a wrap for this week. Join us back next week when Christina Chong will not be joining us. And until then, this is Nathan, signing off. You have been listening to the 42cast. Copyright 2026 Vault 42 Media. Got a question for the ultimate answer? Contact us at everything@42cast.com. Theme music is Sharper Swords by Brandon Ellis. Check out more of his work at www.cityfires.com. The 42cast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping for the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.